Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our service this evening. So as you can see, the rabbi is on vacation, and hopefully he's enjoying a much-deserved rest. But I am so most fortunately joined here tonight by Eleanor Rice. Thank God for everyone else so that they don't have to hear my piano playing. So this evening is really important that you're joining us because we are a small group here. Actually, it's just Alyssa, Brina, our president, and Eleanor, myself. And so it makes that much more important that you are connecting with us from wherever you are physically located. As we know, our congregation extends far outside of these physical walls of this sanctuary. And as we all join in prayer together, wherever you are joining us this evening, we welcome the Sabbath. We close our thoughts on whatever thoughts are tied to the prior week, whatever chaos or simple congestion that is getting in the way of being truly present, in order to focus on the goodness that we bring into our lives when we take the opportunity to be grateful for the rest, peace, and connection that Shabbat offers us. I will be announcing pages this evening from our Shabbat-only Mishkan Tefillah prayer book, and as usual, I will try to remember to ask you to rise and sit at the appropriate times, but if you've remained standing longer than you think you should be, likely I forgot to tell you to sit down. And we begin this evening on page 9. We offer thanks. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. We turn to page 10 for Yedid Nefesh. It's a bit of a different tune than you've heard before, so it's very easy to catch on, and hopefully you'll join us.
Israel.
page 20 and 21 for Lecha Dodi, and we welcome the Sabbath bride with verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And at Boi V'Shalom, verse 9, we rise and we face the door to welcome in the Shabbat. To the Chatzi Kaddish found on page 145. worship on page 146. Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yeah, la, 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 On page 147, we read at the English, Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky, sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Elchai v'kayam tamidim lochalenu liolam ba'ad Baruch atah Adonai Amari v'aravim Amen. נעמתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ושמו,
אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
And we rise for Shema on page 149. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Yevot Malchuto Leolam Ba'et. You may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וסחבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. On page 151, we worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abounds.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learn God's presence, it redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
And we turn to page 153 and read together in the English. Oh, before we do that, we do a Chatima on page 152. My bad. ונאמר כבוד אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל Israel.
Amen.
Okay, now we go to page 153, and we read together in the English, "Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai. Apore sukat shalom aleinu v'yakol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
Amen.
Please join us for a new Vishamru tune by Lawrence Avery on page 154. It's very catchy, and it sounds like most other Vishamrus. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. And we rise for our central prayer, Tefillah, on page 155. My mouth may declare your praise. Lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya la lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, El Hayon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו בימה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, זומם נופלים ורופא חולים. אתה קדוש שמך קדוש וקדושים בך יום יעלו חסדה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. And you may be seated. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu. Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tein chalkeinu b'toratecha, Kadeshenu necha. And we turn to page 161. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael utvilatam b'ahava tekabel uthil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha el karov l'chol korav pnei el avadecha v'chonenu shefoch ruchacha aleinu v'techazena einenu b'shuvacha l'tzion b'rachamim baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shchinato l'tzion. Continue with Modim, and we read in the English for the good in us on page 163. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world, with our hearts and our hands we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to our source of being.
Baruch atah Adonai, hatoshim chaluchon lehodo.
Amen.
Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace on page 164. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amacha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amacha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Ata hu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Litov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael mecholeit ubechosha b'shlomecha. moments now for silence, for silent reflection, prayer, or meditation. Please turn to page 253 for our prayer for healing, Misha Berach. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Mekor HaBracha, Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We take a moment now to offer a Misha Berach for anyone that may be in need of healing, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, for all those that are recovering from COVID-19 and those that are suffering from the loss it has brought to their lives. If you have the name of a loved one of whom our healing prayer may bring comfort to you, you may say their names out loud or hold them in your heart at this time. Misha Berach, Imotenu, Mekor HaBracha, Lilavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. In the past week and a half, the RJCC, the Reformed Jewish Community of Canada, of which our very own member Len Bates is actually now the current president of, has had to issue 2 notices, one of which was a call to action upon the discovery of the unmarked graves of Indigenous children at the Kamloops Indian Residential School. They said, our hearts are with the First Nations and Indigenous peoples and communities across the country as they mourn once again the deaths of 215 children found to be buried in a mass grave on the grounds of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. We know that this was not a discovery but a confirmation, and we know that silence is not a solution to the continuing pain and injustice experienced by Indigenous communities. And then, just this past weekend, they issued another regarding the horrific attack on a Muslim family in London, Ontario, which left 4 family members dead and a 9-year-old child with serious injuries, and with an entire family as an orphan now. The RJCC states, an innocent 9-year-old boy, now an orphan, went on to say that Canada is not Canada without its vibrant Muslim community. We join Jewish Canadians across the country in solidarity with our Muslim neighbors to affirm an attack on any of us is an attack on all of us. No Canadian should live in fear because of any aspect of their identity. There must be zero tolerance for Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, or homophobia, or any of the other isms. They make us all weaker. You may ask, why am I speaking of this tonight? Well, I'm reminded of the often quoted guidance of Rabbi Tarfon in Pirkei Avot. You are not required to finish the task, but neither are you free to desist from it. This is why we as Jews should care. Reformed Jews in particular are committed to a social justice. Even as Reformed Jews embrace ritual, prayer, and ceremony more than ever, we continue to see social justice as the jewel in the Reformed Jewish crown. Like the prophets, we never forget that God is concerned about the everyday and that the blights of society take precedence over the mysteries of heaven. A Reformed synagogue that does not alleviate the anguish of the suffering is a contradiction in terms. That was written in a speech to the UAHC Executive Committee all the way back in February of 1998 by Rabbi Eric Yoffe. In a URJ article by Rabbi Marla Feldman, she says, it has become axiomatic that to be a Jew is to care about the world around us. To be a Reformed Jew is to hear the voice of the prophets in our head, to be engaged in the ongoing work of Tikkun Olam, to strive to improve the world in which we live. If this wasn't reason enough why we as Jews need to care, I can speak more personally to it. Because these isms, they affect all of us, even those that are part of the group being discriminated against. I know firsthand that when I was asked if I would be mentioning that we're celebrating this month, June is Pride Month, a time when we celebrate diversity in the LGBTQIA and communities and acknowledge history, endured hardships, and the progress that has been made. I was hesitant, my first reaction being one of not wanting to make anyone uncomfortable, not making anyone uncomfortable. But if not I, then who? Which is actually a very famous Hillel quote that you're likely familiar with. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? In all seriousness, my questioning and being fearful of making people uncomfortable perhaps is the very reason Pride Month is still necessary. I look forward to a day when it is superfluous. This evening, I remind myself and I remind you that we are all guided by a central belief that all humans are created b'tselem Elohim, in the divine image. As it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, and God created humans in God's own image. In the image of God, God created them. Rabbi Jonah Pensner, director of the Religious Action Center of Reformed Judaism, says, as it says in Genesis, all humans were created in the image of God. And that means that every person, every soul is a creature of God that looks like God, whether they are transgender or lesbian or gay, and so we welcome all of them. Each of us created in God's image has a unique talent with which we can contribute to the high moral purpose of Tikkun Olam, the repair of our world. Excluding anyone from our community lessens our chance of achieving this goal of a more perfect world. I needed to use this opportunity to remind anyone listening tonight, and perhaps those that are actually listening tonight, I'm preaching to the choir, but that we are all made in the image of God, and that hate begets more hate, but that love begets more love and can be far more powerful. We now continue with our service on page 282 with Aleinu, and we rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, v'teiknu l'aliotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzon, v'lo saminu l'kei hamachim, v'lo samcho Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and forever. At this time, the congregation extends its sympathy to our members and their families who have suffered a recent loss. George Volgese, Mark and Sharon, Jeff and Lucy, Scott and Amanda, Megan and Jonathan, and Katie, Aaron, and Olivia on the loss of their wife, mother, mother-in-law, grandmother, and great-grandmother, Paulette Volgese. Joe and Lauren Nadler, Ryan and Dawn, Jamie and Megan, and David and Macy on the loss of their father, father-in-law, and grandfather, Leon Nadler. Paula and Harvey Ackman on the loss of their brother and brother-in-law, Joseph Bateman. The Slade and Littman family on the loss of my Aunt Sheila Slade. Myrna Glowinski on the loss of her mother, Helen Mossoff. We also remember the yurtsites of Adele Album, Hannah Bach, Fanny Berholtz, Coleman Bloom, Stephen Bordeaux, Haskell Davidman, Max Edelstein, David Finkelstein, Murray Gould, Yetta Grossman, Samuel William Mickey Grossman, Harvey Harnick, Harry Hennick, Janet Hirschfield, Hyman Levy, Louis Lewis, Rose Lichtig, Abraham Louis Linkoff, Anita Malach, Theodore Metrick, Francine Panay, Janet Ray, Samuel Rapp, Raymond Zadowski, Devorah Schwartzberg, Mel Steinberg, Lillian Tarnow, Benjamin Winkler, Julius Winter, Louis Weisenberg, Max Zuchter. And we remember the Jews of our adopted town in Michalek, Czech Republic, who perished in the Holocaust: Adolf Loos, Edvard Forster, Ella Forster-Varova, Robert Frank, Hildegarda Frankova, Kurt Freund. Page 291. There are stars up above so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest nights, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. And if at home you have a name that you would like to share for Kaddish that I have not yet named, please share that name as we rise together as a congregation here or wherever you are in support of our mourners. At this time, we also remember members of our armed forces that have died overseas, our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael that have died in so many wars, all the innocent people in this world who have lost their lives to violence, conflict, hatred, chaos of nature, or neglect, as together we pray. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemeda kudisha v'richu, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nachamata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Hoya aseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. And at this time, I would like to have Rena, our president, come up to read the land acknowledgements that I think should be under there. Oh, here, I have them, sorry. Thank you.
At Temple Har Zion, we acknowledge that we are situated on traditional territories and treaty lands. The territories include the Wendat, Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations, and the Métis Nation. As Jews and as a community, may we always strive to fulfill our Jewish value of tzedek tirdof, the pursuit of justice in our society. We pray for healing in the communities and families of all who experienced residential schools, comfort for all those grieving, and strength for all to pursue reconciliation. I just have a few announcements this evening. Morning Minyan services are held via Zoom on Sundays at 9 a.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:15 a.m. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., please join us for Torah study with Rabbi Bill Tepper. Monday at noon is Rosh Chodesh Chai Tea, so wear a fancy hat and come and join Rosh Chodesh lunch. Monday at 7:30, Jewish musicals you've never heard of, Part 2. You don't need to have attended Part 1 to enjoy Part 2, so please join us for that. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Australia, the Unpromised Land, with special guest speaker Jacob Steinberg. Lunch and Learn continues on Thursdays at noon with Rabbi Weiss. On Thursday at 7:30 p.m., Sisterhood AGM and closing program featuring, it's not written here, but I'm going to say it anyway, Eleanor Rice and her piano bar. Recently, I said I was going to a piano bar on Wednesday, and someone asked me, really? You're going to a bar? Isn't everything still closed? I had to say, yes, it's a piano bar on Zoom. Please refer to our e-blast for details, links, and other events, or go to heartzion.ca. Check out our Facebook page and our Instagram, and like them. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much, Rena. And we'll conclude this evening's service with Osei Shalom. Osei Shalom b'mroma, Oyasei Shalom aleinu. Osei Shalom b'mroma, Oyasei Shalom aleinu. Osei Shalom b'mroma. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.